What is up, you guys? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today is going to be a very informational video, and it took me a long time to get all information together. So I'm going to try to compact this into a very short video if I can. But there's a lot of information, so I tried to pull out all the highlights and give you guys a perfect little sum up of how to write your own program and all the things that should go into an integrated program. So before I start, I want you guys to know that I did get all my information from my personal training book, so I want you guys to know that it is research information. I also wrote down all the stuff I'm going to go over with you guys because I want to try to keep this short, like I said, so let's get right into it. So the two main things that most people hear when they're talking about a program and what's in it is usually like resistance training and cardio. Those are the big two main things, and they're huge in a program, but a program should also include a multitude of other things. Those included would be flexibility, cardio, core, balance, reactive training, speed training, agility training, quickness training, and resistance training. So you have all those different things that come into what you call a functional training system. So when you're talking about function, sorry, I'm gonna have to read this a few times, so just bear with me. But function would be the integrated multiplanar movement that involves acceleration, stabilization, and deceleration. So that's all that should be in an integrated program, and those are the things you don't really hear about, especially like stability and speed and agility and stuff like that. You would think that's only for maybe an athlete, like someone who's playing sports or something, but it's not, because you need those types of components for your everyday life, whether you realize it or not. There are certain things that we do every day that require things like speed and balance and stuff like that, and those are things that helps move our progression in the gym over into our everyday life. Now, a lot of people also know this, but it's important to note that when you are doing a new program or something like that, it is important to overload the body. So what it's called is the overload principle, which is that you need to apply a new stimulus or a stimulus at greater intensity than what your body is used to for you to progress. If you're doing something that your body's used to, or it's not hard enough necessarily for you, you're not going to make the changes that you expected you were going to make, because your body is not getting that extra push it needs to make the changes it needs to make. So that's basically the concept of overload principle, and that's a huge component of a program because you always want to progress. You don't want to plateau. So you always want to make sure that you are adding in a stimulus or adding in more intensity or volume to where your body can actually have something to adjust to. Now, a huge question that a lot of people get is, all right, I'm doing the intensity, I'm adding intensity, but when is my body going to start plateauing? Obviously, that's very different for everyone, but according to research and just as a general statement, a lot of the times the body will adjust anywhere between 8 to 12 weeks. And that'll be around the time where the body will start to plateau and you won't see as many changes as you were before that, because the body is now used to whatever you have been making it do. Now, a really good way to look at program design would be through stages. So the stages that I learned through my research and training is what they call the optimal performance training model. So it goes from stabilization as the base, like balance, stuff like that. Then you're gonna move into the strength phase, which is composed of 3 phases, which is your muscular endurance phase, your hypertrophy phase, which hypertrophy is the basis around bodybuilding. It's basically building up muscle mass. So you have that, and then you have your maximal strength. So that's going to be the strength component right in the middle of that stack, and then the very top you're going to get to power. Going back to when the body starts to plateau or when you want to start changing things up, if you're going in those stages, like from stabilization to power, a lot of the time you want to switch it up between about 4 and 6 weeks. So give it about a month or a month and a half before you start changing into different phases, especially for beginners. But you can do it to where you're getting through different phases like each week or so, or a different day of the week. So say you do one day where you focus on balance, or one day where you focus on strength, or one day where you focus on power, or something like that. I personally do it to where I'm almost like doing each phase throughout each workout actually. So that's just because I like to integrate all of those different things within a workout just to feel well-rounded in that exercise or in that workout that day. But if you're writing your own program, you can do it however you feel, or if you're really just starting out, your trainer or someone will have you probably go through each phase like weekly or monthly or something like that, depending on your exercise level. So here's where I'm going to highlight the main things that most people are interested in, like cardio, resistance training, and then probably talk a little bit about the different things that you should be doing between each phase of that like stack that we talked about. And then you'll have like the basics of what you need if you want to write your own program, or if you're just confused about what exactly you need to be doing when getting a program or when you have someone who's writing a program for you. So starting out with cardio, there are 3 different types of cardio. It is low intensity, moderate intensity, and high intensity, or formerly known as zone 1, 2, and 3. So a huge way of knowing if you're doing cardio correctly is heart rate. So if you don't have like a Fitbit or something like that, there are different ways to determine if you're in the right place for your cardio training or if you're getting what you need to get out of it. So that's kind of like, if you can't like hold a simple conversation or something like that, then you know that your intensity is pretty high when you're doing cardio. Or if you can kind of generally, hold a conversation, that might be about moderate. And then if you're able to hold a conversation, that's going to be your low intensity. Once you get to about zone 2 or your moderate intensity, that's when you're going to start getting that interval training in. You're not going to get intervals in something that's like steady state or low intensity. That's for beginners or like recovery days, or a lot of the times athletes who are competing. That's like when I'm competing or something like that, I'll do low intensity, like steady state for maybe 30 minutes or so. So if you're doing like a manual heart rate, you're just trying to figure out your heart rate real quick, you can put your 2 fingers right around here. It's gonna like be right in that divot right here, and you're gonna be able to feel your pulse. And then you wanna count for a minute, like have a timer for a minute and just count how many heartbeats you have, and that's gonna be your beats per minute. Or if you're doing it during exercise or something like that, just hold it there for about 6 seconds. And then whatever number you get in 6 seconds, add a 0 to the end, and that's going to be how much you're going to get in about a minute. So say you are, working out really hard and you count like 15 beats per minute in 6 seconds, it's going to be 150, and that's where you'll be at about a minute. Now for each zone of cardio that you're doing, it requires that you be in a certain amount or a certain percentage of your heart rate max for you to be in the right position for that specific zone. In order to find your heart rate max, I'm going to put the formula here. So each zone is going to be a percentage of that, and that's how you're going to know whether or not you're in that zone. So when you're in zone 1, it requires that you be anywhere from 65 to 75% of your heart rate max. And so that's about your steady state cardio, and you want to keep within those percentages while you're doing that steady state cardio to stay in that zone. Now in zone 2, it requires that your heart rate be between 76 and 85% of your heart rate max. So that's when you're going to start getting into your interval training. You're going to be about 1 minute in zone 2, and you're going to recover in zone 1 for about 3 minutes. So the goal with cardio is to try to increase your anaerobic threshold, because the higher intensity you can go while still using oxygen systems to get enough energy to your muscles and stuff like that, the more calories we can burn from fat. Once you spill over into those anaerobic, which is non-energy using systems, that's when you're getting into more high intensity. So it's super good to do all 3 phases of cardio with the goal that you get better at it and that your anaerobic threshold goes higher and higher, so that that can be an effective way to burn calories from fat. Now moving on to resistance training, like I said, in that stack, you've got your muscular endurance, your hypertrophy, and your max strength. And then even in the balance stabilization area, you can really get into resistance training in that aspect as well, and as far as power is concerned. So I'm going to try to kind of summarize all of that really quick so you guys kind of have an idea of like reps and sets and what you guys should be expecting when you're getting into those different phases of resistance training. So I'm going to read these numbers straight from the book, because I'm going to give you guys the wrong information, because I'm going to forget the numbers and it's not going to be good. So starting out with the stabilization phase, that's really important because that's the phase that recruits the muscles that it gives you for joint and core stability. You need that stuff for any phase, for muscle building, for strength, for power, for anything like that. You need the basic components of stabilization for any type of movement. For example, squats. You know that you can't do heavy squats or really basically any kind of squat without core stabilization, because that's what keeps you upright when you're doing a squat. This is the phase that's important for that. So letting you guys know the numbers when it comes to applying the stabilization phase, you're going to get reps between about 12 to 20 for sets of 1 to 3. These are slow reps. These are controlled reps, because that's what it takes to get stabilization, control. So you're going to go slow. You're getting high reps to make sure that you get that endurance and stabilization. Some examples of exercises that are good in a stabilization phase would be like a single leg squat, like slow and controlled, or a single leg step up, like step up curl press, or even a single leg squat to row with the cables. So you're getting a lot of single leg stuff, making sure that you're stable, making sure that you have the muscle recruitment you need, stuff like that. Moving on to the 3 components of your strength phase. When you're in strength endurance, you are getting about 8 to 12 reps in for 2 to 4 sets. So you're mixing in stabilization and strength in your strength endurance section of the strength phase. So essentially you're doing a superset of something that's stabilization and something that's strength. So say you were to do a bench press, you automatically follow it up with something like a stability ball push-up. That's going to give you your stabilization for your chest, and you're getting that strength in with the bench press. Next, you're moving on to hypertrophy, which is the basis for bodybuilding, which is what you see most on social media and stuff like that. That's where you're going to get anywhere between 6 to 12 reps for 3 to 5 sets. And that's going to be your normal like bicep curls, shoulder press, lateral raises, stuff like that. You guys already basically know the components for that type of strength exercise. Now there are lots of different ways to go about that type of resistance training, or really any type of resistance training. You can do a single set of just one exercise. You can do supersets, pyramid sets, circuit training, split routine systems, which is basically kind of like when people do bicep back together in one day or tricep chest in one day. Stuff like that. There's a billion different ways to kind of switch up those acute variables. So that would be a part of your resistance training. Moving on to max strength. That's where you're going to get into those strength program designs with really low reps. So when you're getting into your max strength, you're going for 1 to 5 reps with 4 to 6 sets. So that's going to be like when you're testing your 1 rep max for deadlifts, bench, squat, stuff like that. Those are like your big 3 for resistance training when you're trying to really build strength. But you can also obviously do other exercises, especially when you're going up to about the 5 rep range. Moving up into your power phase is going to work a lot like your strength endurance phase, where you're working in a superset. So your superset and max strength with power. So you're going to get the 1 to 5 reps for strength, and then for power, you're getting 8 to 10 reps. You want that power portion to be as fast as possible when you're performing it. So that would be kind of like squatting like 5 reps, and then right afterwards doing like box jumps for about 8 to 10, like as fast as you can. That would be kind of like the perfect thing for a power exercise. Now with all of those numbers and information, I do want to mention how long you should be resting between these. That is a huge, huge, huge part of a program design, especially when you're talking about rest as far as recovery from an entire workout. You get all of your work in during your workout, but your rest periods and the time between workouts is where your body starts to make those adjustments and starts to get those changes. So you don't want to overtrain or anything like that. But for now, we're going to just focus on the rest periods between actual exercises. So when you're in your stabilization phase, you want to wait anywhere between 0 and 90 seconds between exercises. When you're in your hypertrophy phase, which is the bodybuilding style workout, you want to only wait between 0 to 60 seconds. That's when you're going to get that optimal recovery for muscle mass. In your max strength, you want to wait 3 to 5 minutes, because remember, that is the phase where you're doing maximal exertion. So that's when you're getting your 1 rep maxes of bench and deadlifts and stuff like that. You want to give it a good amount of time so that your body's ready to do it again. When you're doing your power movement, same thing, 3 to 5 minutes between exercises, and that's going to help you recover really well. So I know that was a lot of information, but I kind of wanted to give you guys the bare minimum basics for what it means to have a well-rounded program and some of the components of that program, so that you guys will understand what your trainers are showing you, what you're trying to write for yourself, stuff like that. So if I missed anything, I might make a part 2, because there's so much information you can tell when writing a program. But for now, that's where we're going to stop. So let me know if there's anything else that you guys specifically want to know in the comment section. But I think I covered most of the basics. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know if you guys like these informational videos. It can be a lot. So I'm hoping that after I edit this, it's not too crazy. But yeah, I tried to keep it as linear as possible. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of the week, and I will see you guys in the next video.